Okay, class, welcome to our first of what's going to be a few online lessons over the next week or so. I'd encourage you to make sure you're watching these day by day. Don't wait and do them all one night. That's going to kill you, and you're really going to be far behind if you do that, especially because we're going to be utilizing the Remind app. So if you have questions as we go along, each day I'm going to go over some of the homework problems in the next lesson. So as we go along, I want to make sure that you guys are using the Remind app to the best of your ability. I expect you to do these the day that they are assigned, and if you have questions about them, I want you to post those questions onto the Remind app, and I'll answer them so the whole class can see and benefit from that. If you have any issues with these, send me an email, but otherwise we're going to be pretty much following along with what's in your book for the most part. And we're going to start today with section 8.1, which is on page 465. So you can feel free to open that up if you want, but if you're watching this on your iPad, obviously that's going to be a bit harder. But last chapter, we defined a monomial, and we defined that as a single term, and we talked about what is and what isn't a monomial. And so today we're going to talk about what a polynomial is, and that's when there's multiple monomials added together. And so that's going to be kind of our first definition, and if you go to page 465, it's the first thing that's there. A polynomial is a monomial or the sum of monomials. So what that really means is, what's the difference between a polynomial and a monomial is that it's multiple monomials added together or subtracted. And we have a few different fancy names that we use for these. If we have two monomials being added or subtracted, we call that a binomial. Binomial. That's when we have two monomials. And then a trinomial is when there's three monomials. And if we ever have more than three, we'll just call it a polynomial. So if it's got 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms, we'll call it a polynomial, just meaning many. Poly meaning many. So that's the first set of definitions you need to know. The second set can be a little bit harder, and that's going to be the degree of a monomial. And we're going to spend some time talking about the degree of a monomial and polynomial today. All right, so first, we're talking about degree. And that definition in your book works pretty well. The degree of a monomial, if you go to page 465, the degree of a monomial is the sum of the exponents of all of its variables. Okay, so the degree of a monomial is the sum of the exponents of just the variables. So let's practice a few of these, and then we'll see if we can name them. Okay, so on this slide, I've got 6 examples for us, and hopefully you can separate those 6. Oh, here, I'll do it for you. There you go. Here's our 6 examples, and we're going to go ahead and name these based on the degree of them. So these are all monomials. The first one is just the number 6. So when we say the sum of the exponents of all of its variables, there are no variables. So this is degree 0. And we call that constant. I'm not going to list all these for you, but if you go to page 465, there's a table there. You can just copy into your notes. I recommend that you do that. You're going to need to know these words. The second one has an exponent of 1, the x, that's their variable, has an exponent of 1. And so we're going to call that linear. This one, the variable has an exponent of 2, and so we call that quadratic. So we would say it has degree 2, therefore it's quadratic. Degree 1, therefore it's linear. Degree 0, therefore it's constant. For these next 3 examples, you can see this has degree 2, but what we're looking at, remember, is just the exponents of the variables. So I don't care about the 6 squared. That doesn't count. We're just looking at the x squared, and therefore this has the same degree as the last example. It's degree 2, and it is quadratic. This example here, the 5th one, we don't care about the degree of 3. That's not going to change our degree. X has a degree of 1, y has a degree of 1. And remember, it's the sum of the exponents of the variables. 1 plus 1 is 2, so this is also quadratic. And then finally, negative 14 squared. We don't care about that squared because 14 is not a variable. X has exponent of 1, y has 3, z has 1. 1 plus 3 plus 1, the sum of the variables exponents is 5, and therefore this is a quintic monomial. Oh, I put that I in the weird place. Quintic. There we go. Now we're going to talk about finding the degree of a polynomial. And as you can see what I've written there, the highest monomial wins. So here we have a polynomial with 4 terms, so we're not going to name it anything other than a polynomial. And we need to look at the degree of each monomial as 4 individual terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 individual terms. The first one, 3x squared, has a degree of what?
2.
That's right, 2. Because 3 is just a constant, and x is a variable, has degree 2, because we only go off of the variables. Negative 4xyz, that's 1 plus 1 plus 1, degree 3, so it's cubic. Z cubed has degree 3. And then 18 to the 8th, remember, is just a constant because it's not a variable, so that's degree 0, it's a constant. And so then we go with the highest number here. We have 2, 3, 3, 0. The highest number is 3. It doesn't really matter which one we're talking about. And that means the degree of this polynomial is 3, so it is a cubic polynomial. Okay, so for each of these, we're going to name its degree and whether it's a monomial, binomial, or trinomial. So we're going to say the degree, what its name is based on the degree, and then what its name is based on the number of terms. So the first one, I want you guys to actually pause the video right now, go through, see if you can do this yourself. Name it on the degree and the number of terms. Pause the video now. Great. I'm sure you got them all right, and I'm sure you actually paused the video. The first one has 2 terms, so therefore it is a binomial. And if we look at the 2 monomials here, the first one has degree 1, the second one has degree 2. So it is a degree 2 polynomial, meaning it is a quadratic polynomial. More specifically, a quadratic binomial, because it has 2 terms. The second one has 1 term, so it is a monomial. And Mark's entering, playing his music. What's up? Okay, it is a monomial because it's only 1 term, and its degree is 0 because it's constant. There are no variables. The third one is not a polynomial because, again, we looked at this last chapter. It's not a polynomial or even a monomial if it has a variable in the denominator. So this one, we can't even answer the question. The fourth one, we see that the first term has degree 3, the second term is degree 1, degree 0. So this is a degree 3, meaning cubic. And there's multiple terms here. So you could technically call it a polynomial, but if you look here in the middle, these two are going to combine to make a trinomial. So even though it starts off looking like there's 4 terms, the 2 middle terms would actually combine, and it would become a trinomial. Okay, a couple more slides, then we're done. The first one of the 2 is standard form for a polynomial is just we go highest degree to lowest degree. So, for example, if I were to write 5y minus 9 minus 2y to the 4th minus 6y cubed. This is a 4-term polynomial. There are 4 terms. It cannot be combined to be smaller. And we're going to write them from highest degree to lowest degree. So take a look at those 4 terms. Which one has the highest degree? That's right. We're going to write that one first. And then we're going to go to the next highest degree, which is degree 3. And then the next highest is degree 1, and then degree 0. And again, we're getting that from the exponents of the variables. Wow, that took a lot to get there. Okay, so the first one's degree 1, degree 0, degree 4, degree 3, and then we just write them in the correct order. This is standard form for a polynomial, so I'll expect your final answers to kind of look like that and be nice and pretty. All right, finally, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting polynomials together, and it's just combining like terms. You guys have done this before, and so I think it'll be pretty straightforward. We're just going to combine some like terms. All right, so go ahead and write down the example and pause if you need to, because I'm just going to keep rolling. Here we're adding 2 trinomials together. The first one is degree 2, the second one is also degree 2. So they're both quadratic trinomials, and we're adding them together, as you can see here in the middle. And we're going to combine like terms. So I'm looking at 2x squared And I'm going to add that to the like term over here, which is negative 4x squared. 2x squared minus 4x squared gives us negative 2x squared. Some students get confused here and they'll combine the exponents when they add these together, but we never do that. If you have 3 double stuffed Oreos and I add 5 double stuffed Oreos, you have 8 double stuffed Oreos. They don't become 8 quadruple stuffed. So we don't change the exponents when we add or subtract any monomial together. Just like 5x plus 6x is 11x, not 11x squared. 5x plus 6x is just 11x. And then finally, negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4, and we're done. My answer is in standard form. I go from degree 2 to 1 to 0. My final answer is a quadratic trinomial. All right, go ahead and try this example. Combine like terms, write your final answer in standard form. So go ahead and pause the video and try that real quick, and then I'll go ahead and go to the answer. Okay, so after you've tried it yourself, y cubed plus 2y cubed, you should have 3y cubed. Notice that I'm just starting with the highest degree first, so I can have my answer in standard form. Then there's no x squared term on the left, but there is on the right, so I'm just going to write plus 4y squared, get rid of that. And then now I have 3y plus negative 4y gives me negative y, got rid of that. And then negative 5 plus 8 is 3. And my final answer is a 4-term polynomial that is cubic because it's degree 3, going off of the highest number there. Okay, finally, your homework for tonight is page 468, 20 through 56, every other even. Sounds like a lot of problems, but it's not. Your first problem is going to be number 20, then you're going to skip 22 and do 24, skip 26 and do 28, skip 30, do 32, so on and so forth. Just don't end up accidentally doing more problems than you should. We'll go over some of these in tomorrow's video, and then if you have questions, remember to just post them to the Remind app. Have a great day.